am here with my papa. Papa, can you say your name and your age?
My name is Eugene Prosen, and I'm 86 years old.
Okay, and we were doing a podcast about what it was like when you were growing up and the stigma around mental health. So can you tell me about what it was like growing up in your childhood?
Oh, it was what I considered a normal childhood. I grew up in the back of the yards area where life was simpler then. I enjoyed sports, played a lot of sports at the local park. That was where we sort of hung around with our group of friends. And I don't know what else I could say about that. I had a good childhood. I felt I was loved and got a good education, and I've grown up to be a responsible human being.
And can you tell me about your family, like your parents and your siblings?
Well, sure. My parents were foreign-born. Both were born in the Ukraine, and they immigrated here. My mother came through Canada to America, and my dad came through Ellis Island, New York. There were 4 children in the family, an oldest brother, a sister, and another sister, and me. I was the youngest. My father, what I can remember of that, worked forever at the stockyards at Swift and Company. And he raised a family there, and we lived on 51st and Winchester, which was an area in what was called back of the yards. He walked to work every day from our house to 43rd and I want to say Emerald, where the stockyards were, on 43rd Street, rain or snow. He did that for 40 years. Raised a family. Here he was an immigrant that had difficulty with the language, but he became a citizen. My mother became a citizen, and they raised 4 children, and I was the youngest, and I was the only one of the children who was fortunate enough to continue my education through college. And I thought that was a great accomplishment for 2 people who came from here, not knowing the country, not knowing what it was like, and I was very happy and feel blessed to have had that upbringing.
Okay. Were you close with your family, like your siblings and your parents?
Well, I was the youngest. My brother and sister were almost 20 years older than I was, but my younger sister was just 2 years older than I were. I was closest to her probably in growing up. Although, again, the close people were the buddies that you meet and made friends with at the park and school, and so that was it. You know, I'm close to my sister, but she was a girl and I was a boy, and there's a different kind of closeness there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next question. What do you know about mental health / mental illnesses? Like, what's your interpretation of them?
Well, when I was younger, I was your age and everything, and we talked about mental health, wasn't mentioned much except someone they were crazy, and they went to Mantino, which was we jokingly or remarked that they're going to the crazy house. Mental health wasn't discussed much other than that. I looked up, in anticipation of this interview, I looked up the definition of psychology and psychiatry. If you were sane, if you were not deemed insane, then there wasn't much any medication, or there wasn't much counseling or therapy or anything like that for the normal childhood feelings as there are now. And that's about it. We didn't talk about it that much. Didn't talk much about it. You know, our own individual feelings.
Mm-hmm.
In psychologists, you know.
Yeah.
As I was growing up, though, and as I became an adult, and some of our friends we know, and all of a sudden they said they were counseling. What does that mean? I had a course in college, Psych 100, And that's the Fiedler. We talked about that. I'd probably say I still don't know. I remember when I was younger, not an adult though, a young adult, when this friend of ours, you've heard us speak of Auntie Marcella, Nana's really close friend, and she said she was going to go see a psychiatrist, and I said, what is that? What's the matter? Thought, is that voodoo science or whatever it is? I don't know. So, mental health, I don't think was discussed much in our growing up years.
Mm-hmm.
If someone wasn't feeling good, or the family, I don't feel so. Go outside, go outside and play, or whatever it was. That was the advice that you got.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that answers your question in terms of Maddie, but yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
There wasn't much, except now I remember later on in life, for example, if you've ever seen the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Okay, there's a movie about that with Jack Nicholson where he's in this place for mentally ill, and he's really not mentally ill. He's just conning them, and they're talking about things like we do remember hearing about electric shock treatments, and President Kennedy's parents, Joe Kennedy, the senior, had a daughter who they thought was mentally ill or something, and she did a prefrontal lobotomy. You heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of it. Wow, that I guess they did some crazy things then. I don't know if they still do electric shock now.
No.
Hopefully, thankfully.
Yeah.
It's when you see that, wow. Again, I'm not sure. Mental health as opposed to mental illness. I don't know how. I'm still not sure I understand how they determine that.
How they determine what?
I mean, if you're insane, I guess. I mean, the ultimate, is insanity. That's the ultimate, as far as I'm concerned, diagnosis that they can give you. You're insane.
Yeah.
You can't deal with reality. And I don't know what they do with that. Maybe your generation will find out and solve that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Just a little background. Insane, that's not a word used now to describe.
They don't use that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right.
It's more so saying someone's mentally ill.
That's what I remember when I was growing up. You were either insane or you were sane.
Well, kind of going off that, what's your impression of people with mental illnesses, maybe compared to when you were growing up versus if your interpretation has changed?
Mm-hmm. Well, see, that's part of it, Maddie, in terms of, say, mental illness. I think what do the experts, if you will, or what do the people who study this, how do they determine it? How do they classify mental illness?
Yeah.
In other words, just normal, I feel sad, feeling sad is different than being depressed. Is it? I don't know. I mean, again, with the words at the time, no, I'm depressed. I feel kind of sad, but
yeah.
I'm not clinically depressed. I don't know, so.
Mm-hmm. And I could say going off of my own experience, because I take medication for my anxiety, my depression.
Right.
And I feel like at least for the depression part, a big thing, differentiating between sadness and depression is kind of hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're sad, say a big event happened in your, a death happened in your life, you're upset over it, as like a normal person would be, but you're going to get over it, whereas depression is kind of, you're in a really bad state, like a sadness state, and it could be you don't know why, there could be a reason behind it, but it's very hard to go on throughout your day. There's hopelessness, you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to eat or you want to overeat, you don't want to talk to people, no one can cheer you up. It's kind of, that's what I see in the difference. And speaking on my own behalf of anxiety, there's worry and then there's anxiety. Where worry is, I have a test tomorrow. Oh, like I have to study. I'm like really anxious about it. Where anxiety is, you get anxious. It could be over something, but over nothing. But it's kind of that taken to the extreme and kind of explaining it best I can, your amygdala in your brain, that's what induces your fight or flight response. For someone with anxiety, that's always going off. You always feel like you're in a pit of danger. And so your body reacts as to where you feel like you're in a situation where you could die. You feel like it could be something little like, you get embarrassed at school or something like that, something goes wrong at school, and, your amygdala sends signals throughout your body saying, okay, you need to act fast because you're in danger. Where at least symptoms for me is, my palms get sweaty, my heart races, I start getting dizzy, stuff like that, I can't breathe very well, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of how at least I interpret the differences between, sadness, depression, or worry and anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sure, and that's, I don't know, in other words, Maddie, I don't know. I do know, I recall, I think correctly, that there wasn't as much medication when I was growing up.
Do you see a problem with the use of medication to treat mental illnesses?
Do I see a problem?
Yeah.
Only if, in fact, it's used, when it really shouldn't be. And I don't know how you determine that, Maddie.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know, the medication you're taking, I don't know what it does for you. You mentioned, the medulla, and that's, I don't know enough about brains as you do, and where it comes from and all. But my question would be, okay, that works off that signal. Well, what triggers it? What causes that?
Mm-hmm.
And as I've gotten older and really as for me, my religion and my faith has been a big help to me. I think that that's a cure for me. Instead of taking a pill, I pray on it, and it works. Again, but that works for me, and it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's do what you have to do to get better. And it's like the question that I have now when we hear bad things, when we hear a lot on TV, and that bothers me now. That was there always this condition? We just didn't hear about it, or is there the same amount as when I was growing up of mental illness? It's no different, and that's part of life. Somebody got it and somebody don't, and I feel bad about that. But I feel blessed that I don't. So that's how it works. Overall health was different when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different time. First of all, one of the differences, doctors came to the house, and you didn't go to a doctor unless you were really sick.
Mm-hmm.
How did you determine that? Well, am I really sick, or again, am I just sad a little bit as opposed to clinically depressed? The anxiety, worry to me is a stronger word than anxiety. I mean, worry, that's serious. You're worrying about somebody's in the hospital and they got cancer, and that's a serious worry. I'm anxious about whether I'm going to get my hot water heater fixed today or something like that. That's anxiety, and that's smaller. But again, the words that are used are clinical anxiety, or whatever the case is. I don't know.
Can you think of anyone close to you that you knew struggled with this?
No, not really. I mean, and that's part of it. I didn't. I'd say Nana did, because we were talking about it earlier, about her cousin Bobby, who had the shock treatments. And, I think people that we knew probably had autism, we call them dummy. They were slow, and things of that sort. So those were things that I don't think it was malicious. It just was just the way we talked rather roughly, in where I grew up and stuff. That was it. You heard us used some words one time that shocked you, you know. So there was common knowledge when we talked about that.
Yeah.
So mental illness, I guess, you know, same thing. I don't think I knew anybody. Mm-hmm. But they may have been, and I didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
So how would, you know, again, you know, with Auntie Marcella, I said, come on, you just put me on or something. You're trying to attract attention.
Yeah. Is that what you see it as? Mental health? No. Okay.
Well, maybe there are some people who do. I don't know. You know, there may be, and I thought that of her. Whether she did or not, I don't know. You know, mm-hmm. But again, it wasn't discussed much when I was younger, Maddie. Other than, like I say, they got put away. You know.
Yeah.
Not in prison. They got put to a mental institution.
Yeah. Do you maybe not feel bad, but do you ever maybe feel remorse for, I don't even know if that's the right word, but calling, you know, referring people with mental illness, you know, calling them crazy? Or do you feel like maybe that just wasn't right?
Oh, no, I don't, because it wasn't meant to be malicious or anything. It was just the way we talked, mm-hmm. and that was part of it. Again, Madison, I think that I hope. I mean, I believe. I'm genuinely trying to think back to myself. I mean, it wasn't meant to be malicious or anything of that sort, and but it was. We accepted that was life. I mean, that's the way it is. One of my favorite readings, I mean, I read a book once, and you know, the guy, his sister gave him a thing, so what's your motive, Swindoll? And I think that's probably a good question to ask. Why do we act the way we do? You know, what causes that learning? Why are some people better learners and not learners, and why is that? I don't know. And can we cure that? I mean, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Again, it seems to me that it's a difficult area.
Yeah.
Counseling, again, basically the concept, as I understand it, in other words, of being able to refer to somebody to articulate how you're feeling and get it out there is a good thing. To have somebody that you can feel, you can talk to. There are a lot of people that don't.
You know, kind of going off, saying when you were younger, you didn't really know anyone who dealt through that. Now when you're older, you know, 3 of your grandchildren struggle through that. Your grandchildren are very close to you, very important to you. Mm-hmm. Does that alter your interpretation of mental illness? Maybe make you feel more, I don't know what the word I'm trying to think, more sympathetic towards it?
Okay. All right, but not sympathetic to my concerns for my grandchildren. Certainly, are very deep and very strong.
Yes.
And it's not centered. It's not focused solely on that. You know, we've talked about your career and what you want to do, and what are your goals in life. You know, you know, it's. I don't know if I'd use the word sympathetic to it. I'm aware of it. Sympathetic. What did you mean by that? Do I mean
you're more
accepting, or
maybe accepting more of mental health issues, knowing that, you know, some of your grandchildren struggle with it.
Well, I certainly acknowledge the fact that that's there. Mm-hmm. My slight anxiety, if you will, is again, that's the skepticism that comes in, is to say it might be better treated by family dinners or something. You know, maybe instead of that, maybe we could all get together a little more and talk. You know, Madison, my feelings about talking and how unsuccessful I have been at trying to get this group, you know, my family, to talk. I still think, you know, sitting around and talking about it, but it's tough. It's tough. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. I'm aware of it. I hope it, you know, if it's working, if that's fine, mm-hmm. That's good. I hope it doesn't become a crutch, or whatever the case. And I hope it's not you've been sold a bill of goods or something by somebody or somebody else. And there may be a better way to do it.
Yeah.
The idea we've talked about, the depression, what brings it on? Certainly there are things in life, that depress you. I remember back to high school, remember how depressed I was when I didn't get voted to the senior boys council. And I thought, wow, in high school, and it's with me today. I wish I had been that. But that's life. It's over, and and other things, surgeries, deaths in the family. Those are sad times. But they go over. And again, my faith tells me, Maddie, that you're going to get joy and you're going to get sadness in this life. How do you equate them? If you've got too much, I don't know.
Yeah. Do you believe mental illness exists?
Yeah. But again, maybe with me it's a matter of degree. It's from, again, you say insanity, they don't use that word.
Yeah.
They don't. Why don't they use that word?
Because I wouldn't consider myself insane.
Well, you're not.
Yeah.
That's the point. You're not.
Yeah.
But you may have another mental, but you're not insane.
No.
You may be depressed.
Yeah.
Other things. I don't know what other kinds of mental illnesses are there. Well, I did know a guy, a very close friend of mine who died. He said he was manic depressive, and when he was depressive, everybody liked him. When he was manic, he was a pain in the ass. He talked about everything, and I like that.
Yeah.
But it seems to me it sort of revolves around what your opinion is of yourself.
Okay.
And that's that affects that's my thinking on it. My thinking on the subject, in other words, is somewhere along the line. How do we eliminate, if you will, what I call the tyranny of other people's opinions? Someone who practices anorexia is because she's been told that she's fat, or she doesn't like that, or something like that. That's not a bad thing to be overweight. You can still be the person you are. Is not just this.
Yeah.
And how do you come to that? If you can do it through counseling, that's fine. What my friend said, he got Elevel or something, a mood leveler, and apparently that they found a way that pill would, bring down this aspect of it or raise that aspect of it. And I guess, then that makes you functional. But I don't know that it ever does it cure it. And is that curative? Is it possible? I don't know. Did you ever hear that expression? You really are three people.
I have not.
You are really everybody's three people. Okay, there's the person you think you are. There's the person other people think you are. And then there's the person you really are. And if you ever get into it and meet that third person, maybe you'll be surprised. And that's it. Find out who we really are.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. We all have an opinion of ourselves, and then I don't know if you ever know who yourself is.
Yeah.
And your mom and me and everybody who interacts with you, we have an opinion of you. We think of that, and that's maybe not, but the person you are. And here again, we get back into with me, religion, Maddie. It's the person that God made you.
Yeah.
And He made a beautiful person right here. And that's the one you got. I hope you'll meet someday. Soon, quickly. Well, again, it was growing up. It wasn't talked much, except, for that they're bonkers. They use crazy things like that. They're crazy.
Yeah.
That was another one. He's crazy. Was he really, clinically, insane or just hot-tempered or whatever the case. I don't know to what degree. And again, you know, talk about anxiety or worry or, you know, we get anxious. We're clinically anxious. That's something else. You know,
yeah.
I mean, where we can't function, that's, you know, let's try to get some help.